Hey, how you doing this week, Mick? Have you recovered from watching Monkey
I
King?
got my Clooney's up and ready to go.
Wow, you're still thinking about Clooney's?
I am. I'm still thinking about George Clooney's.
It's a whole
Yeah.
week later. We're still thinking about Clooney's.
Well, yeah. It's Batman or die.
Oh, speaking of Clooney's, I watched the rest of season one of Surreal Estate, and I thought
Yeah.
it kind of went downhill. Like I was like, "What is happening?" It got
Well,
really
yeah.
cheesy. It was like not even Buffy the Champ, Vampire, Buffy the Champ, Buffy. I'm gonna get this out. It's
Yeah.
not even Buffy the Vampire Slayer cheesy. That's good. The
Right.
show, you know, the
Right.
show was pretty. So was Angel.
Right.
They're both cheesy
Right.
shows with
Right.
surreal
Right.
stuff happening, but it was actually
Yeah.
decent. There was some episodes in the Surreal Estate that I was like, "What the? That's way too far cheesy for me." I don't
Yeah.
know.
Uh,
I got through season one, so
yeah. I got through season 1 too, and then I thought, I don't know.
did you not think it kind of went downhill? Like,
I don't care. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. No, it got so bad that I didn't sign up for season 2 at all. No, I'm with you on it. You know, right there, brother.
why are
Right.
we agreeing so much?
I know this is. Stop it.
We need
So,
to go back and watch
well,
like some
but
movies
what are,
that
but,
we
but
love.
what are we reviewing now?
Speaking of Star Wars, we reviewed Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, which came out this year. And actually, I didn't know there was a part 2 until it came up. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not watching
Yeah,
that
I
shit.
did. You know, I didn't know because because at the end of it, I thought, well, wait, this confusing story isn't over yet.
No. So this is about a peaceful settlement on a distant moon, and basically it's threatened by the motherland. And there's this evil like villain guy who's like German, or he might be a Nazi, but he might be, I don't know what he is. But anyway, he's mean, and he has a scar on his face, so you know he's bad. And they're trying to survive, so they gather up the troops, kind of thing. And did you know that this is directed by Zack Snyder?
I know that this is directed by Zack Snyder.
That's actually
which
why I was wanting to watch it. I had really high hopes for this, and
I don't-
I want to
which-
say that he actually pitched. I found out that, and when I was researching this, that he pitched this to Star. Well, you know, so when Lucasfilms was sold to Disney, right? He pitched it to them as a Star Wars movie. Anyway, that cracked me up because I'm sure they were like, "What the hell? You just took a bunch of other stories and crammed them all."
Yeah, by the way, it totally is every other little bits and pieces of every other Star Wars and Star Trek film that is slammed together, but it is done so badly. I mean, you know, I give you an example of something that they do badly. You know, when Darth Vader is coming off of a Star Trek
Yeah.
ship, right? You know, there's that lockstep and that these guys kind of sloughed off, sort of like, you know, it kind of like they were, you know, the ship lands and then as they're filing out of the ship, it was kind of looked like when a fifth grade door opens. You know, and the teacher opens the door and all the
Yeah.
kids come. You know, you got it. Kind of looked like not the first kids that run up and go.
Oh, we're gonna get us. That way you aren't gonna get that tetherball this time.
It was the last half of the class that just kind of wanders out because they don't really even know where they are anyway, right? And that's what it looked like. It was like, and it just continued. There were just so many things in it. Like we're planting corn, and we're planting wheat, right? And as they're planting wheat, everything is super clean, and except for the makeup smudges on their faces, right? You know, and so you look at their hands, and the hands are utterly clean, and they're dipping in, and they're throwing out in the rows, and the rows are like that deep of soil, and you can literally see the stage underneath the rows, and it was there's the sense of design and the aspects of making everything come together to seem like a place wasn't there. It looked like it literally. I mean, even the shots. I'm concentrating on the field because I just to like let everything go on the show, but I mean the field that that they're supposed to be farming is like just absolutely flat and right on the edge. There's no greens anywhere, which I can't even understand that. But
and horses with helmets.
and horses with helmets that are dragging an exact duplicate of a plow from 1909, right?
Yes,
behind the horse, and I was like, really? These people have phasers, and yet they are going around with a plow from 1909, right?
Well, they were living. You see how they were dressed too. They were dressed from the 1900s, pretty much.
Yeah, right. If the 1900s have a gap.
And this is every scene was like, well, except for the scenes with the farm and stuff and the big Saturn in the background or whatever. The scenes where there were action, I felt they were really crowded, like too crowded. Like there's so much going on the screen. Right. I don't know what the hell was going on.
See, but I talk about this all the time as a production designer. I say the thing is this film didn't have a center. It didn't have something that you were looking at and absolutely following, right? Because it would.
Yes.
It didn't.
Well,
it wasn't like you would follow one person and see what their reaction is to everything.
Right. Yeah.
Stop that.
Well, I'm trying to make you the center. See?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. See. But it's actually working for you better than it did for them. I mean, it's like all of a sudden a fight breaks out and the cameras get wider, and you just watch this. I'm not kidding. Half the time when there was a fight in there, the music in my head was everybody was kung fu fighting.
Well, kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy feel almost, but not good in the way that Guardians of the Galaxy was.
Thing is Guardians of the Galaxy. Every time that you were in a fight, you would then come back in and start to focus on a member
characters.
In the fight.
Yes,
yeah, right.
Yes, exactly. Wide shot, close up. Wide shot, close up.
It didn't do it here, there was just so much utter.
And the pacing
amateur.
was all over the place. It was like, especially when they were getting all the different characters together. It was like boom, 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 boom. It's like, okay, well, what's going on?
Yeah,
and Zack Snyder had to sneak in his slow motion during the fight scenes, and I think it kind of ruined some of the fight scenes where they, how his patented slow down,
yeah,
where they're ducking and the thing's going over their head. But anyway,
there wasn't a lot of drama to it, I mean, like we didn't do a build up on a scene and then all of a sudden come up. It's like, well, let's all get into this bar and we're gonna fight. It's a different bar and it's from another planet, right?
And we're gonna make it look kind of like Star Wars.
But at the same time, it didn't have the clarity of Star Wars, right?
No.
I mean, everything kind of had a very muddy, washed out look.
Well, I think a lot of things were going bad with this one. Like the writing, the acting was tough in a lot of spots. I'm not gonna say it was all bad, but the best acting was the robot because it was voiced by Anthony Hopkins.
Oh my God!
Not to be confused with Anthony Perkins. Anthony Hopkins.
I wanted to point out something. My wife and I were watching, and we're like 20 minutes in, right? And there was the scene of the robot and the girl down by the river, right? It's the first scene in the film that is framed correctly, and it felt like it was directed correctly. And then the robot starts to talk, and my wife goes, so far the best actor in this whole thing is that robot.
Yes, I said this. I thought the same thing in my head, and then, well, actually, what's funny is he probably said, "Hey, you might want to make this shot a little." I mean, he only did the voice, but I don't think he was there on the set. But I think they did a good job doing that scene because it was him doing the voice of the robot.
Yeah, well, because the voice was right, the robot looked right.
I want to know who played the robot. No, I was kidding.
It was the two of them, and
that was actually probably the best scene in the whole thing.
It was by far the best scene that I saw.
And not just the way it was shot, but the sentiment behind it.
Right. And you know the lighting and stuff in that one scene, because it was down by the riverbank, was also a little bit different.
Oh yes, especially when they did the wide shot where they were
Right.
showing the robot washing himself.
It looked right. So
the robot's right like this, and he see a silhouette. He's like,
yeah. It was. Thing is that was honestly the best out of the best shot out of the whole film. The rest of it was just barely above like a bad 1963 science fiction film, which is going on behind you there.
Well, the sad thing is, I might actually watch part 2 while I'm doing laundry or something.
Yeah, exactly right.
Like fish tank. Use it like kind of as a fish tank.
Yeah, that's
like,
right.
Background.
It was just terrible. And the funny thing about it is, I was looking forward to it because it was Zack Snyder. And I mean, two things that I really love. It's basically a Star Wars story, right?
This was Star Wars, and also it really reminded me of this guy. You're gonna think this is a weird reference. Seven Samurai, because it was like getting together.
No, it did. Like we're all getting together to like save this town, and so the town has to put out its own troops and all the rest of that, right? Yeah. But the thing is Seven Samurai is actually effective and well written and well directed and looks good.
Well, the thing you brought up,
only difference, minor differences.
Just minor.
Minor.
Oh, and the thing, well, it's also black and white. I mean,
yeah.
Star Wars. We're talking about Star Wars, and I'm probably gonna make some enemies, but the first Star Wars, I wouldn't say there was really good acting through that whole thing, especially coming from Mr. a little bit here and there. I'm not going to be trashing him, but I'm just saying the acting wasn't perfect in Star Wars, but it was an amazing movie. Everything was overcome by everything else.
Right.
I'm just saying there's some scenes that were weaker than others. Let me put it that way. It wasn't terrible throughout. And actually is a decent actor, but I'm just saying there are parts where I thought it was a little weak. If you watch Star Wars and you analyze it,
but from the point of view is it was world building at its best.
Yes, the story and I mean just the way they shot everything was perfect.
It sucked you in.
So it didn't matter so much, did it? That the acting could be troublesome.
I mean, some of the shots in this are reminded me. Tell me if this didn't. You've seen the Thunderbirds before, right?
Yes.
When the ships were landing on this, it looked. I mean, I thought to myself, boy, you know what?
Yeah.
Thunderbird 2 landing actually looks a lot better than this.
Well, you see the strings?
There was an element to it that you know they would get this herky-jerky thing going with some of the ships, and I was going, is that intentional or did one of the strings get cut?
What? Actually, if they would have done this like a Thunderbirds, I would have loved it.
That would have been right. It would have been because you know what? That's world building already done.
So yeah, I don't know.
Honest to God, really save yourself the time. It is totally.
Yeah, just watch Star Wars. Just watch Star Wars or Seven Samurai or both.
Yeah,
or even Star Trek, any Star Trek movie.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the bad guy. The bad guy is just a redressed version of Hitler. You know, actually, you know who the bad guy was is what was the Quentin Tarantino World War Bastards, right?
Inglourious Bastards.
Inglourious Bastards. What they wanted him to be was the colonel in Inglourious Bastards, right? But he didn't even raise to that quality.
Then I have to say the main character. I would say the main character, the woman.
The woman, yeah.
Cora, whatever her character's name was.
Sophia
Boutella. She's. I thought she was pretty. She reminded me a lot of. Rodriguez.
Yeah,
Michelle Rodriguez.
Michelle Rodriguez.
Kind of a badass type of personality.
Yeah, I think that she would have been good in something where if she would have had actual direction.
Yeah, and actually what's funny is I'm talking about acting, but then at the same time, they kind of work with what they have sometimes. So it's like if you give them a load
but also, tell me that there wasn't this element going on all the time. Is whenever it did focus in on somebody, it's like everybody else just stood around and looked at the camera.
Waiting for they were like mouthing the lines together.
Waiting for their turn to do their line, you know, which is really funny because that's one of the things that when you're using a group of actors that are not very experienced, you have that problem with them. Is everybody stands around and you can literally see them standing there waiting to do their. Stop it! You're doing
it. Yes, I agree. Yes, exactly. I was waiting for my line.
You were waiting for your line, weren't you? yeah, it was that was painfully hard.
I thought this was going to be like at least a 6 or 6. I mean, not 6. We're doing a 5-point scale. I thought this would be at least a 3.
At least a 6 on the 5-point scale.
I thought it would be at least a 3 or so above average, just because Zack Snyder he's kind of hit and miss sometimes. But the stuff I like by Zack Snyder, I really like by Zack Snyder. But the stuff I don't like, so I mean, it could go either way. But so I thought this was going to be a 3. I give it like a 1.
yeah, I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it a 1 myself. I mean, it was just the most joyless piece of crap I have seen since the first since the movie that I saw right before that we also reviewed.
So, you liked Monkey King more than this one?
Boy, that's a tough one.
And this is double the pleasure, double the fun if you watch the second part.
I don't know. They're both way down in the weeds. Yeah, that was it's rough. I'm just saying, you know, don't take all my years of experience, and if you think that you're going to do that, instead go see the black and white version of Godzilla -1.
And then follow that by Seven Samurai, black and white, of course, obviously.
Well, I don't want to get off on a black and white kick here just for hell, but that's not what I'm saying to go see it.
I know what you mean.
But Godzilla -1 is, honest to God, one of my favorite films I've ever seen in my life.